Right now, though, we're looking at the other end of the roster. The guys that aren't on the depth chart right now that you've been looking at. Not the ones that are going to see the field most likely, but guys that might be the next wave of great players for Penn State. We're talking about the deep sleepers on the roster. And no better time than the present to look at those guys in the future. And these are the guys that I have my eye on as far as they have high-end potential and are going to have an opportunity at some point to showcase that. The question we have to ask ourselves before we get started is, did T. Frank make this entire thing up just so he could talk about Caziah Holmes? Maybe. But hear me out, this is why. I think Holmes has the best combination of skills in the backfield. I think when you look at his ability to play through contact, great contact balance, his speed, and the pairing with the new outside zone system that Mike Yurcich is going to be running at Penn State, that's a great combination of skills. Getting this guy in space and having him the opportunity to break tackles like he did here, I think is going to be a huge benefit for the Nittany Lions. I think he's got good vision, and as you can see, there's a natural ability to break tackles. It's not a forcible thing for him. It's just about consistently getting those things out of him. As a true freshman, I think these highlights show the high end of what he can be, getting a little more speed, a little more maturity. He's 210 pounds right now, so he's already big enough to be a good running back. It's just about accentuating all those skills and bringing it out on a consistent basis. Consistency, by the way, is what James Franklin talked about, what he wants from his running backs in 2021 in that very young group of players. And when you look at Caziah Holmes, you know what you're getting from Kevon Lee and from Noah Cain. They have a very defined skill set. They are the consistent ones. But can you get more? I'm always looking for more. I'm always looking for the complete guy with the strength, the speed, the natural abilities to break tackles. That's what Caziah Holmes brings to the table, as long as you can get that out of him. And he's going to have the opportunity to be a part of the rotation. He's just got to make sure that when he has the opportunity, he makes the most of it. So another guy we're going to move on to that is going to see the field in 2021. Bit of a cheat here because he's in the two deep, but he has the potential to break out and be a star, is Smith Vilbert, the defensive end for the Nittany Lions. And you can see why he's got all this potential, because he's super long, great frame, quickness, good speed. And it's not just the size, it's he's already realized on that potential at 260 pounds this spring. So it's just about learning to play the position, learning to finish plays like this. And I think an underrated thing is not being so damn lerpy. With those long arms and that gangly frame, learning to consistently use his hands, keep his arms inside, and play with power. Because if he does that, again, he's the high-end variance on the depth chart behind Nick Tarburton, who is your consistent power run-stuffing defensive end that used to play linebacker. So he's a good run defender, understands the concepts that are coming at him. He's going to be a high-floor player. Vilbert is the guy that if he breaks out, Penn State once again has a 6'6", 260-pound, strong defensive end that can play the run and get after the passer. That's what he can bring to the table. So as a deep sleeping star, I'd say, how he fits onto this list, because he's going to see the field. But if Penn State wants to have somebody step up, we already highlighted Nick Tarburton as the guy that needs to step up and play well. The guy who can really break things open for Penn State is Smith Vilbert. So after those first two, we're going to transition down the depth chart at a different position to a guy that I'm not expecting to see in 2021 a whole lot, and that is Kaziah Izzard, the defensive tackle. I love his fluidity. I love his pass rushing skills as a former defensive end in high school who's got good quickness. He played in space well for a big man, so he's got those skills to bring to the inside. It's just learning to play defensive tackle, seeing consistent double teams, guys that are bigger and stronger than him. My question would be, is his frame maxed out? Because you can see he's already a thick-bodied kid in high school 2 years ago. Does he have room to get up to 300 pounds? He's 290 on the depth chart right now. He's 285 in the clips you're seeing. So he's close, but it's does he have that complete profile? but it's close enough that I think the pass rushing skills he can bring eventually, once he learns how to play with leverage and play on the edges of tackles and not in space, I think that stuff that's what gets me excited about a defensive tackle. Is he can be that complete complement to the pass rush while also being a quality run defender, and you can see the way he takes on blocks and his ability to play with leverage. Those are all huge benefits. Saw him a little bit at the end of the season. He was in the Illinois game, played reasonably well, but we're not going to make any assumptions on 12 total snaps. So we're going to put a pin in that. I don't think you're going to see him in 2021 because the decision to bring in Derek Tangelo and play that 3 technique position kind of tells you what Penn State thinks about where he is in his development process. He'll get there eventually if he can. I think he physically can get there eventually. It's just going to be whether it's midway through this season, at the end of the season, or heading into 2022. Now, speaking of a guy in 2022 who's going to have an opportunity but likely has no path to the field right now is former 4-star safety Enzo Jennings. And you can see on film why he is such a potential-laden player. Look at the size and the length and the strength he has. And again, the guys we're talking about here, these are physical presences that we don't know a whole lot about their game so far. But as he profiles, he's got great speed and closing ability on the football, and he shows enough coverage ability. You can see there's enough in coverage here that you think he can play there, and he's got the speed to do it. But if you look at, again, this is highlight tape, and we're relying a lot on highlight tape from high school. You don't see a lot of coverage plays. So the question is, can he play in coverage? And because we don't know those answers, he clearly is body type and play style a boundary safety and not a field safety. And that's why he doesn't have a path to the field right now, because Jaquan Brisker and Jonathan Sutherland are clearly the guys that are going to be taking snaps at that position, and Enzo Jennings will be third behind those guys for the future. But when he gets there, I think Jaquan Brisker is actually a pretty good comparison as far as physical abilities and tools and the nastiness in the box to come up and make tackles. So in the future, I think Penn State has a good option at that boundary safety, but they're looking for somebody to play field safety right now, and I don't think that Jennings has the profile to do that, so we're going to be waiting on him. But when his time comes, he might start a run of really good safety play for the Nittany Lions at that boundary safety. The final guy we're going to talk about right now, I will never not be intrigued by 6'4", now at this point in his Penn State career, 200 pounds, and runs like a literal deer. Malick Meiga, the receiver from Canada, he's captured my imagination in a lot of ways watching his highlights from high school and what he could be with teaching and learning the American game of football. Because unlike Sutherland and the other Canadians that we've talked about, Jesse Luketa or Christian Vailloux, he did not transfer to an American school before coming to Penn State. He spent no time playing American football. And for his position in particular, you can see you're allowed to move before the snap. All the false start penalties, all those don't count in Canadian football. So can he learn to play on the boundary, which is where he's going to play with that size and that speed profile? Can he learn to play on the boundary, get off press coverage, and use this size and speed that he has? Because I love watching these highlights, and it's not just the size and speed. You can see there, I think he does have good change of direction and movement skills for somebody who's 6'4". The question is, can he take that quick change of direction and movement in his hips, and can he make it more explosive and efficient? Taylor Stubblefield, we've all heard, is a technician of a coach. And if he can bring out those skills in Malick Meiga, you're talking about a number one boundary receiver with every tool imaginable. And that's why he's on the Penn State roster, not about his skills right now, but what he could be. There's still a lot of questions about those things, and then how is he at the catch point? What's his vertical like? Does he play with that the ball is mine mentality? Those are the things that are going to make and break a great receiver, but as far as a lottery ticket that you have on your roster, I'm not a gambling man, but I would put my money down most times on a guy like Malick Meiga. So those are your 5 deep sleepers. Some of them, they're maybe just napping on the Penn State roster.